Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing a top 10. Topic of this top 10, top 10 favorite pop albums. Now this comes to me as a request from my good friend Bucky749. He had mentioned on a comment from one of my older videos, my top 10 heavy metal albums, he had asked if I would ever do a country albums, a pop albums, or a rock albums. Rock albums for me, there's going to be a lot of crossover for what I did with the heavy metal. I don't really listen to country. I don't even know if there's 10 country albums that I like as a full album, but I do like pop. So this is for you, Bucky. This is my top 10 favorite pop albums of all time. I did put some restrictions on this. I'm only going to do one album per act. So in other words, someone like Prince is only going to have one album here, or someone like Madonna is only going to have one album here. If I didn't restrict it to that, there are certain artists that would dominate the top 10, and it would basically be like my favorite 10 of their albums. It was also kind of hard because pop is a general concept. It's been everything from heavy metal to glam rock to disco to R&B to rap. And what I kind of judge this with, and a lot of this is albums that are old enough to fit this criteria, if it's something that I could hear on an oldies radio station, if it's in the pop category. If it's something that you would only hear on like a classic rock station, it would fit in the rock category. So while some of these could be considered other genres, I do think most of these are pop feeling albums. For instance, an album like Nevermind for Nirvana isn't on this list, even though it topped the pop charts, because I would consider that more of a grunge, rock, heavier album, where it's not necessarily pop, even though it is pop by definition, if that makes sense to you. It's a very hard thing to quantify. With all that being said, let's jump into the top 10 with our number 10, Like a Virgin from Madonna. This is Madonna's second album, and I kind of went back and forth with this in the first one. To me, the 10 albums that make this list and the couple albums that are on the best of the rest are all albums that I can listen to from front to back. There's going to be a very huge pop band that does not make this list that a lot of people will be surprised from. And part of that reason is it's not that I don't like that band, it's because I don't have one album of theirs that I can listen to from front to back. Like a Virgin for me, for Madonna, is one of those albums. She has a couple of them. Ray of Light is another one for her. And her first one, Madonna, I believe it's just called Madonna. They're ones I could listen to all the way. But this, to me, when I go back and I listen to Madonna and I want to hear her in her prime, this is where it is. I mean, we have songs like Material Girl, the title track Like a Virgin, and one of my favorites, Love Don't Live Here Anymore. It's kind of I wouldn't say it's a deep cut, but when you look at the catalog of Madonna songs, it's kind of a deep cut. I really love this album. That's why it's my number 10. Now, going from that, our number 9. For this, we are definitely separating the man from the art. And you'll understand why I say that here in a moment, because the guy is in absolute crash out mode over the last 5 years or so, and seems to be hell-bent on destroying anything he had of a good reputation. However, I can't deny he put out some of the greatest albums of his time, and this to me is his magnum opus, and that's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. And now you see why I gave you that disclaimer up front. Kanye is that person that toes the line between genius and insanity, and I do think that he has some severe mental problems that I think kind of shape what he's doing now and the crash out that he's been in for the last few years. He is an extremely talented musician, producer, rapper, and this is, like I said, rap kind of fell into the pop here for me. Kind of like an MC Hammer would fall into pop, or Drake falls into the pop category. This is such a great album. Songs like Power, All of the Lights, Monster, and one of my favorite Kanye songs, Runaway. I just think he did such a great job here, and this was such a big evolution for him. This was like his Sgt. Pepper's, in my opinion. I really enjoyed this. That's why it's here at number 9. And again, separating the man from the music, it's just a great album. Now, go from that, our number 8. A less controversial band, Cracked Rear View by Hoodie and the Blowfish. There was a time when liking Hoodie and the Blowfish was considered very corny, very hokey. They were that kind of dad rock band. But to me, I've always enjoyed them. They just made great music, especially on this album. This album was highlighted by Hold My Hand, Let Her Be, and Only Want to Be With You. And they came out back to back to back. I mean, it was like hit after hit after hit after hit. And it was infectious, and you just couldn't help but sing along with it to whether you were playing golf with your buddies and for them the Dolphins made them cry, for me the Eagles made me cry. Whether you're doing that or you were sitting at a bar with some people you just met, these songs would come on, you would sing them together. And that's how you would make friends with people, just over this amazing music. I think Hoodie and the Blowfish is kind of one of those bands, kind of gets lumped in that Creed, Nickelback, kind of corny bands. But there's a reason why these bands sold millions and millions of songs, and don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for Creed or Nickelback right here. I'm just saying they made some great music. This was a fantastic album, in my opinion. I absolutely love this album. If you haven't listened to it in a long time or you've never heard it, go check it out. It's really good. Go back, especially if you were cynical, if you're my age and Hoodie and the Blowfish wasn't cool enough for you because you liked Soundgarden, or you were a Rancid fan, or you liked Wu-Tang Clan or Nas. Go check it out. Tell me what you think about it now. I bet you like it a lot better now when you give it a chance with a more open mind. Now, going from that, we're going to go to our number 7. This is an album that was a staple of my childhood. This was an album from one of my father's favorite artists. He would play this every weekend when we were home and just doing things around the house, in our old gigantic record player that also had a TV in it. I know if you're old like me, you remember those. They were kind of a buffet, and there was a TV on the bottom and a radio with a record player on top, and then when the TV eventually broke, you just put another TV on top of it. Anyway, we would play that on that record player, and that's Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. Stevie's one of those guys that I had to make this limitation of one album per artist here, because there's a run of albums in the 70s, and this being right in the middle of them, they could have easily been 5 of the top 10 here. He's such a gifted writer and songwriter and musician. This has some of my favorite Stevie Wonder songs of all time. Sir Duke, Pastime Paradise, which was later interpolated into Gangster's Paradise and then Amish Paradise. It has Isn't She Lovely on here. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful album, and this is the kind of album, it's so ingrained in my fiber of my being that I hear these songs, it takes me back to the early 80s. It takes me back to a time when I'm just sitting around the house, maybe we're watching a baseball game together with my father, or maybe we're just doing whatever, cleaning up. Maybe I'm out in the yard playing with my Tonka trucks or whatever it may be. Anytime I hear these songs, it time warps me back into that mode, and they automatically put a smile on my face. Such beautiful music. That's why it has to be on this list. Now, go from that to number 6. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. This is one of those albums that I think everybody has heard or has at least heard of. It's in every music critic's or music magazine's top albums of all time. It's one of those timeless classics that just keeps giving and giving. I mean, we're here 50 plus years on, and this album still feels relevant today. And this had songs like The Chain, Dreams, Go Your Own Way, Gold Dust Woman. The inner turmoil of the band playing out through the album with people that are going through real life hard times and putting out some of the most beautiful music of the decade. This is just a fantastic album. I absolutely love Fleetwood Mac. This is my favorite. I mean, it's probably everybody's favorite Fleetwood Mac album. They have a lot of great albums, but this is just fantastic. I definitely recommend checking it out. I'll go from that on number 5. Another one from the 70s. This is another one that my father played when I was a child. What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. If you listen to What's Going On and you don't come out of it understanding the late 60s, early 70s civil rights movement and what the country of America was going through at the time, then you didn't pay attention. This was Marvin Gaye pouring his soul out on a record and talking to everybody, giving us such great hits as the title track or Mercy, Mercy Me, Inner City Blues, just telling us what is going on in America and how it's affecting him and how it's affecting all of us and how it was affecting everyone then. It's such a revelation because you listen to it now and you could hear themes that are still relevant now and things that still haven't been fixed now, almost 60 years later. This came out in 1970, all right, so 54 years later, not almost 60. This came out in 1971, and there's still things that were talked about on here that we're still struggling with as a people now. I wish more people listened and understood this album and put some of that into their own life. We would be a much better civilization if more of us listened to Marvin Gaye, and especially What's Going On. Now going from that, our number 4, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. This was so hard to narrow the Beach Boys down to just one album because they're the Beach Boys. They've had decades of albums, of decades of greatness. This to me, and I know everybody brings up Pet Sounds, and I know it's not a revelation that this is on here, but this had some of their best songs. Sloop John B, Wouldn't It Be Nice, and in my opinion, the most beautiful song that's ever been written. And that's God Only Knows. When I watch documentaries about the Beach Boys or movies about the Beach Boys and see what was going on behind the scenes while this masterpiece was being made, it's such a hard dichotomy to understand from such a tortured place for Brian Wilson that this beautiful music came out of that. And it's so great. If you listen to God Only Knows and you don't smile or you don't cry or you don't have some emotional reaction, just like the last album with What's Going On, if you don't have some kind of an emotional reaction to that song, I don't know that you have a soul. This is just a beautiful album. That's why it had to make it onto the list. Going from that, our number 3, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie. This is known mostly for the title song Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, Starman, Moon Age Daydream. I could have easily put 5 or 6 Bowie albums here, and it would be hard pressed for me to talk about the history of pop music and the best pop albums of all time with not having at least one David Bowie album on here. And this kind of was one of those ones that I juggled back and forth. Is this a pop album? Is this not a pop album? Is this more of a rock album? And to me, the lasting impact on pop culture that this album made makes it a pop album for me. And yes, there's probably more pop albums out there of his. Some of his other stuff has more of a pop tinge to it. But I definitely think that this is a pop album, and this is some of the best work of David Bowie's career. And I'm a huge David Bowie fan. I love David Bowie. I think he made some of the best music that's ever been made. He's a guy that reinvented himself almost album to album. No albums actually sound the same. He's such an innovative songwriter and such an innovative musician. I had to put something of his here, and this is such a great album. Another one of these albums that just touch your soul. I hope you go listen to this if you've never heard it. I'll go from that, our number 2, Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution. So much like I said with the Beach Boys, with Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Wonder, David Bowie, Madonna, this is another artist that could have easily took up half the list with their discography. But to me, when I go back, this is the quintessential Prince album in my opinion. I mean, you have Darling Nikki on here, Let's Go Crazy, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry. These are some of the most iconic songs of the Prince catalog. Some of the songs you think of immediately when you think of the Purple Man. And it's such great music, and it's such a great time capsule. Here was another ultra talented musician just doing anything he wanted to do and just putting it out there and making an amazing album that still stands the test of time 40 plus years later. And this is just a fantastic album. If you don't like Purple Rain, much like I said with some of these other ones, I don't really know that you have a soul. And you can like other styles of music and still love Purple Rain. I know people that all they ever listen to is heavy metal that like Purple Rain. I know that people that listen to rap or punk music that love Purple Rain and love Prince. He's just that talented. He's so universally loved. And this is just a great album. That's why it had to make our list. Now, before we get to our number 1, we do a thing here on our top 10s called the best of the rest. Basically, this is things that were thought of for the list but didn't quite make it. First up, Doo-Wops and Hooligans by Bruno Mars. This has songs like Grenade, Marry You, the Lazy Song, and Just the Way You Are. All songs that are kind of wedding staples now. And Bruno's one of those artists that, again, he's definitely a pop artist, and he's definitely someone that I think is almost universally loved. It's such a great album, and he's such a great artist. He kind of feels, in a way, like an evolution of a Prince and a Michael Jackson and some of the other pop artists that came before him, and making that his own thing. I love this album. Unfortunately, it just missed the list, but it was definitely thought of for it. Next up on the best of the rest, more of the Monkees. Yes, the Monkees are making this list, even though it's just in the best of the rest. This had songs like Stepping Stone, Mary Mary, and probably one of the Monkees' most famous songs, I'm a Believer, on here. I absolutely love the Monkees. From the time I was a very young kid watching their reruns on TV, I very much enjoyed their music. And I understand that, they were kind of a put-together band, but they were so enjoyable. They make such great music. Go back and listen to some of the Monkees stuff. They definitely don't get the flowers they deserve. I love them. Unfortunately, they didn't quite make the top 10, but they were considered for it. Now, before we go to our number one, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you think I put something too high, left something too low, let me know down in the comments. With all that being said, our number one pop album of all time, Thriller by Michael Jackson. There's a reason why this album has sold over 50 million copies, and it's probably way more than that now. I mean, this had hit after hit. PYT, Wanna Be Starting Something, Billie Jean, Human Nature, Beat It, Thriller, and finally The Girl Is Mine. For those of you that noticed, the Beatles didn't make the list. I talked about a band earlier where I mentioned I didn't have one album where I liked their entire album, so that's kind of why they didn't make it. That band is the Beatles. I like the Beatles. I like a lot of the Beatles songs. Unfortunately, there's not one Beatles album where I could put it on and not skip a track. Every one of these albums on this top 10, I could put on without skipping a track. That's why they didn't quite make the list. And I know a lot of you are going to say, how do you have a top 10 pop without the Beatles? There's a Beatle in the number one, Paul McCartney. He does a duet on here with Michael Jackson called The Girl Is Mine. So there you go. There's my caveat. Beatles fans, don't kill me. Paul McCartney isn't part of the number one. I mean, this is Thriller. I don't really have to make any kind of an argument why Thriller is the number one pop album of all time, or my favorite pop album of all time. I was born in 1977. When Thriller came out in 1982, I had the sequins glove, the Beat It jacket. I had every single one of the Michael Jackson cards. I had 2 sets of the Michael Jackson cards. One set that I could keep as a front, and a second set because if you turned them over, they made a poster on the back, and I glued that poster together. Every kid of the 80s, and probably every generation since, and probably generations before, have listened to Thriller and have loved Thriller. I mean, it's just a fantastic album. Michael Jackson is the king of pop. There's no question about it. He's another one of those artists where I could have easily put 3 or 4 of his albums on here, maybe even 5. I mean, we talk about Dangerous, Off the Wall, Bad. They all would have made it on here. They're all fantastic albums. This, again, I mean, I keep going back to it. It's Thriller. Everybody knows what Thriller is. There are people that have only heard one song in their life or one album in their life, and it's probably Thriller. This is easily one of the most popular pieces of music that's ever been made, and there is a reason for it. This is just good music. It's just good songs. I've owned this on record. I've owned this on cassette. I've owned it on CD a couple different times because one of the CDs broke and I had to get the 25th anniversary edition. If there was a new format other than streaming, it's on my streaming playlists. If there was a new format that came out other than streaming, I'd own it on that. It's just Thriller. If you're someone that loves music, you love Thriller, and I'm a person that loves music, so Thriller, it had to be number one for me. With all that being said, this is my opinion of my top 10 favorite pop albums. Yours could be totally different. Like I said, there's probably some Beatles fans that are very angry with me right now. And I do love Beatles songs. I love Eleanor Rigby. I love Yellow Submarine. I love their early stuff like Twist and Shout, Hold Your Hand, Let It Be, Hey Jude, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. There's a ton of Beatles songs I love. I just don't have one album that I love from front to back. So please, don't get too angry with me. Understand that's the reasoning for it. I do think the Beatles are great, just they don't have a front-to-back album for me. With all that being said, let me know your favorite pop albums. Put them down here in the comments. Let me know what you think. And if you have an idea, much like my good friend Bucky here, put it down in the comments. Maybe I'll make a video of it. We're trying out new things all the time on the channel. I've recently been into ripping old wrestling cards and other sports cards. I just did a video with my friend Julie, who you've probably seen the video by now. It came out the day before this one is going to be released. They're both recorded on the same day. I'm trying some new things. I'm trying to branch out, trying to give you guys more entertainment, more of everything. So let me know some ideas of what you'd like to see me do, what you'd like to see me cover on a top 10 maybe. Leave it down here in the comments. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and you've been watching Heel Heat.